Welcome to the first 5-Minute Friday. The idea here is hopefully once a week, maybe a little longer, I'll take 5 minutes or less and go over a radio function or feature or any questions that you have come up and try to get them answered for you in a format that's not so long, not so boring. Maybe I won't put you to sleep, maybe a little snoozy, but not totally sleep. So let's get into the first one. It's kind of an important change we made to 1634 and 1231, which we have at station 370 right now, but normally lives at station 374. You can order these radios with different button layouts. So the layout you see here doesn't necessarily correspond to all the radios. In fact, most of them are a little different, but there are 3 functions that we want to have selectable by the buttons. We really want channel scan, we really want priority scan, and we really want low power. So this radio, you can see, was pretty darn close except for squelch at the end, and we don't have a low power selection in any of these other buttons. And what the typical selection of buttons that we have that works pretty well is monitor, channel scan, priority scan, group select, and low power. We can change these buttons to be anything we want in the programming software, but of course it would be very difficult to change the hard button. So we debated about what to do, but the consensus was, hey, it's important to have those functions be selectable by the button so you don't have to go into a menu item. In order to overcome that, we printed out a label that you can see each label corresponds to the button that it would select. So monitor, scan, priority, group select all remain the same with this radio, but in this case what used to be squelch is now low power. 1634 doesn't have channel scan or priority scan as buttons. However, it's this exact same layout. The 2 buttons that were originally there were just switched to be channel scan and priority scan. There used to be a menu set up for these radios that didn't have the right button layout, and that menu still exists. I've reduced some of the options, and some of the options you'll see me scroll through will go away. I'm just kind of testing them out, but I don't think will be useful for you out in the field. But if you ever need to access those, what you do is you hit function, and let me zoom out here, that'll probably make it a little easier to see. You hit function. That gets you into the menu. First option we can see is transmit, repeater, talk around. If I hit function again, off hook, low power, and then this one is actually going to go away, so we won't even mention it. And now we're back to the start. If it's not blinking, it's not on. In order to select it as being on, we would select priority. And you can see now that it's blinking, we need to confirm that selection by hitting enter. I go back into the menu. It's blinking. We know that repeater, transmit, talk around has been selected and is active. If I want to undo it, I just do the same steps. Priority stops blinking. Enter. Confirm the selection. And if I go back to the menu, I can see it's not blinking. It's been turned off. And if I want to get out quickly, I can hit enter or just wait. And it'll go back to the main screen. So what was repeater talk around? Let's talk about that for a sec. Most channels that you deal with on, say, a command level are repeated channels, and most tactical channels are simplex. And the simplex channel receives and transmits on the same frequency. A repeated channel has 2 frequencies. You transmit out to on one frequency to the repeater. That repeater gets your transmission and sends it out on a different frequency, which is your receive frequency. What you can do is, instead of transmitting out on your normal transmit frequency, which would send it to the repeater, you can tell your radio to transmit out on the receive frequency. This becomes useful if you're trying to reach somebody that, say, you're traveling in a strike team with, but you can't hit the repeater, and for whatever reason any other channels that you're using on that fire aren't working. As a last-ditch effort, if you think that maybe they're only scanning the command channel, you can transmit out on repeater talk around, which sends a transmission out on your receive frequency, which will also be their receive frequency, and they should be able to hear you as long as they're within range of the radio without needing the repeater. In order to indicate that to them, what you would usually say is engine 374 from engine 370 direct. And if they're familiar with radios, they'll know what direct means. That means that if they want to speak back to you, they'll also need to turn on repeater talk around. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching the first installment. Send me any questions you have and I'll try to get them answered.